Hi guys, welcome back. Today's video is going to be my testimony. I want to share with you guys a little bit about my upbringing and how I came to love God the way that I love God, because everybody's journey is different and testimonies are very powerful and uplifting and encouraging. Spirit FM. I just said what they said. Before we get started, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Ooh, got coffee. Okay, so first I'm going to just briefly share my mother. She's from New York, but she came down to Virginia for college and she met somebody that brought her to church, and that's where she met my dad, which is the church that I currently go to now, that I was born and raised in. They got married and she had 2 kids, my brother and myself. So like I said, we both grew up in the church that we still go to this day. We've been going there our whole lives pretty much, except for when we lived in Tennessee for a couple of years. At the age of 6, which is, you know, I tried to pinpoint specific moments in my life that really impacted me. So when I was 6, my dad sexually touched me inappropriately. Yeah, I don't even know that, but I opened up about that in an IGT video, so I'm gonna try not to go into detail about that because I already did on that video. If you want to listen to that, I will link that down below for you guys. But I talked about that and what happened. So that was a big moment in my life. He obviously didn't want me to tell anybody, but when I went to school the next day and I was hanging up my backpack, I felt God speak to me immediately and told me to go tell my mom. And I knew in that moment that I needed to obey and listen, even though I was scared. So after that, everything's a blur. I honestly don't remember how I told my mom. I just remember that she believed me. I really don't remember, because I was very young, exactly all the changes that happened. My mom did say that there was boundaries that were made. He was kicked out of the house for a while. Counseling took place, yada yada, stuff like that. A lot of that was a blur. The next big thing that happened to me at the time was when we moved back from Tennessee, I think maybe a year later. I really don't know how. I was 10. That was when my dad officially, he got the boot for real. Not just because of what happened when I was 6, but because other things that were going on that played a part into what caused him to do what he did to me. So he left, and that was very traumatic for me. I remember him coming down the steps with his suitcase, and I knew immediately what was happening, so I started crying, and of course he came over and hugged me, and he said that he would be back, and he promised that he would be back. After that, a lot of stuff emotionally started happening to me. I felt very unwanted. I felt left. I felt abandoned, betrayed. I don't know how many days I would sit out on the porch of our house and wait for my dad to come driving down the street, but he never did. And so that feeling of abandonment and fear and, you know, anger just kept rising. It just kept boiling inside of me, and I was so unhappy. Like, my mom tells me that I rarely smiled. I was so broken inside. And there came a point where I started to blame myself for what had happened. Like, it was my fault he left. And I began to dislike myself. I didn't think I was beautiful. I didn't think I was valuable. And I would look in the mirror and I would hate myself. So I guess from all the emotions, I felt like I needed to do something, because I was angry and I felt like I deserved pain. I deserved more than what I was feeling, and so I began to hurt myself. I would scratch myself. I would slap myself. I would try to leave marks. And it's weird because in some ways I didn't want to leave them so noticeable that people knew what I was doing. But at the same time, I wanted to leave something because I wanted people to know that I wasn't okay. My mom knew I wasn't okay. My pastor knew I wasn't okay. But I don't know, it was like a cry for help, but at the same time, you don't want to cry for help. I started sleeping with my mom again because I was afraid that I was going to wake up one morning and she'd be gone. So I slept with her every night, and every night I cried myself to sleep. I could not understand why, you know? A lot of those emotions, like my fear and my doubt and anger, that bled into a lot of other relationships in my life. It prohibited me from being a teenager and, you know, making new friends and experiencing things, because I was very shut off. There was a very thick wall between me and a lot of people. There was a night where I was in my bedroom. I was sitting on the floor, and I started crying, and I said, God, I don't understand. And then I said to him, I just need to feel you. Can you please hold me? And I will never forget I have never forgotten to this day. As soon as I said that, I immediately felt his arms wrap around me. Like, and in that moment, I felt such peace. I felt wanted. I felt like I belonged in that moment. And I think, you know, I've always known that I wanted to live for God and that I love God. But for me, that moment was my moment. That was my moment where it was just, it wasn't somebody else's experience that I was listening to. It wasn't somebody else's experience that I was living on, because you can't live on everybody else's experiences and blessings. You have to have your own. And for me, that was a big one. And from that day forward, I knew that God was everything, that I needed God no matter what. So, you know, of course that didn't just completely heal everything. My healing process from what happened with my dad and my dad leaving has been a very long process. I think through those seasons of my life, I was very blessed. God, although I was going through a lot emotionally, and maybe there's a lot that I missed out on, God used different people at different times. And although they're not in my life anymore, I look back and each person played a part in my life. They helped me through a certain phase that at the time I may have not known what it was for and how they were helping me, but I look back and it may have just been in small ways, but each person was helping me just grow and learn something new. You don't realize how valuable and how important that is until it happens. I was homeschooled for most of all of middle school, really, and then my program ended, and my mom, you know, had to figure out if she could afford to do another program. But she came to me and, you know, she expressed the situation, and she said, but Samantha, if you still want to be homeschooled, I'll make it work. We'll find a way. I know God will open a door. She said, but I want you to pray about it. My mom has always encouraged me to pray, you know, to pray about whatever you need guidance on, whatever you're going through. So I did. I went to God in prayer, and I had felt him say, or pulling me to go back to public school. And I was scared because it had been a very long time since I'd been in public school, and I was bullied. I was mistreated because of my beliefs and my convictions and the things that separated me. You know, wearing skirts all the time and not wearing makeup. I was treated differently because of those things. And that was a big reason why I left public school. I said, okay, God, I will. I'm scared though. And he said to me, it's gonna be okay because I'm here. And that gave me the confidence, even though I was still scared on some level. I knew that God was telling me, so it was gonna be okay. So I went to my mom and I told her, and I'm so thankful that I did, because I grew so much my freshman year of high school. I learned to step out of my bubble. I learned to speak up for myself. I made new friends. I brought so many friends to my church. You know, it was just a very big growing season for me. There came a point where my brother wanted to reach out to my dad. And my mom came to me and expressed it to me again, and she said, Samantha, I want you to have the option if you want to, you know, see your dad again. She said, but I want you to pray. You know, again, always encouraged me to pray. So that's what I did. I went and I prayed. And I said, God, I don't know. You know, he hurt me. I'm scared to see him again. I'm scared to face him. I'm scared to look at him again. And he said to me, go. It's gonna be okay, because I'm here. And I said, okay. So I went and I told my mom. And although my dad is still not in my life, he hasn't been for probably 6+ years, a very long time. He doesn't write, call, send birthday cards, nothing. It wasn't about him. I realized in that moment that I saw him for the first time in years, that it was about me. God knew that I needed to see him again, not because, you know, I needed to see how great of a father he was, because he's not. It was about finding closure for myself. It was about being able to look him in the eye and realize that it never had anything to do with me. It was about being able to forgive him so that I could move forward, and so that God could continue to heal my heart. He knew that. My testimony is full of fear and full of doubt and confusion and anger. But what's really made my love for God unshakable is that every time I prayed, every time I have gone to God for guidance, school, seeing my father, even my breakup, which I opened up about that as well, so I will link that down below too. Every time, he has always said to me, it's okay because I'm here. Those words are so profound to me. They're so simple, but they're so profound. Because I realize now, I never made the connection growing up, but I look back and I realize that God always said those things to me because he knew that all I needed was to know that he was there for me and that he wasn't going to leave me. He knew that all I needed was that gentle reminder that he had me and he was never going to leave me or forsake me. And every time he told me, I knew that that was all that I needed. I knew that his confidence in me was enough to push me forward. And each time, it's never failed. Each time, it's only helped me grow. I've grown in my faith and in my trust in God. I'll say too, side note, a lot of it's my mom. My mom is a very strong woman and one of the strongest women that I know. And I know a lot of kids say that about their parents, but the amount of things that my mom has been through and watching her as I grew up and her trust and love for God only demonstrated to me the value that it has and the significance of it. And that instilled in me at a young age. I know that there's only going to be more. I'm only 23. I have a life ahead of me, and there's going to be so much more moments and seasons of life, but I know that God's always there. And so before I end this video, I hope my testimony speaks to you somehow. I hope that it can help give you the confidence in God to realize that He's never gonna leave you or forsake you too. He doesn't care what you've done in your past or even what you're doing in your present. He loves you no matter what. And I hope that sharing my testimony where God's brought me only encourages you to go to God and want to draw closer to Him, because I promise you, He will take care of you and He will help you and love on you and just make you feel like like so full of joy and peace and strength. That is my testimony. Remember, if you didn't before, hit that like button and the subscribe button as well. Remember to be you, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.